Hi guys, so this week I wanted to do a video on how to manage a worrying mind. So I did a meeting on that on Saturday morning, which is Friday night for you guys, well, most of you guys. And I've written some stuff down, so I'm just gonna do a bit of a introduction to worry. So worry puts strain on not only our mental health, right? We all know that that's a thing, but on our physical health as well. So we can experience anxiety, difficulty sleeping, which obviously, you know, creates stress and anger, and you don't actually function as well the next day either. So decreased functioning of our immune system as well. And it also promotes symptoms of, if you're experiencing anxiety or post-traumatic stress disorder, it promotes those symptoms even further. And it also makes us more prone to disease, which is quite crazy to think that worrying is such a big thing. And not to mention, we all know that prolonged stress over a certain amount of time can increase our risk of heart attack. Okay, so worrying is a negative cycle. A lot of people do the whole start the worry with a negative thought, and then they continue the worry, and then they worry about the fact that they're worrying. Which we probably have all caught ourselves in at one point in our lives. But it is time to say, worry, I am in control now, and I'm going to put some steps in place so that it becomes reflection, not worry all the time. Okay, so step one, set a designated worry time. So there was some studies done in regards to what that designated worry time will do, and what you can possibly get out of that, and how you can do it. So we've got 4 steps here. So to set a designated worry time, the study was by Penn State. It created a 4-step program. First was to identify the object of worry. So obviously bring up what is causing the problem. What's the problem? What is the problem? Let's look at the problem. 2, come up with a time and place to think about that designated worry. And time is specified by, you know, when I get home after I put my kids to bed, I'm going to sit down and think about this thing for an hour, let's just say. Not 100% an hour, because you will be overthinking it by that point. 10 minutes is the recommended time to be thinking about one thing. But if you're looking at a huge thing, you're looking at solutions and all of the other stuff, then that's kind of fine, because you're writing things down, you're analyzing it, you're processing it. You know, that's completely different to worrying for an hour. Okay, 3, if worries come up, during the day or something like that, you've kind of gone through that worry time. That worry time is in the evening. So during the day you have this worry that comes up, and you're thinking, oh no, how do I deal with it? Distract yourself, do something else, push the worry aside until you get to your designated worry time. Otherwise, you're just going to be thinking about that thing that's going to bother you all day, and it's going to destroy your day. You know, worrying is thinking about things that may possibly never happen and ruining you right now, you know. So 4, think of solutions in your designated worry time, like I suggested. Excuse me, I have a bit of a croaky in my throat. Yeah, don't just sit there and worry. I mean, like I said, worrying is a cycle. It just goes around and around and around. And you're never actually going to come to any solutions in that sense, except for the fact that you're a failure or the other person is a miserable, you know, so it's just negative. I've got some exercises at the end here, some CBT and mindfulness kind of exercises as well to give you guys for worry specifically. Okay, so the next step they suggested was to be mindful. So look at how much time you're spending online. And we all probably have some form of social networking that we do these days. It's very common. Obviously, I'm talking to you guys on one right now. But you need to reestablish the control. Studies show that a lot of people during the day actually get quite anxious about not checking their phone. How do you feel if you leave your phone at home? Do you feel like, oh, I might not be able to get that call, or I might not be able to go on Facebook if I'm bored, or I might, there's always something. It's a form of addiction as well. So just be mindful of if it's actually stressing you and worrying you, because not only is it worry when we don't have it, but it also could be a trigger for your anxiety, being online, seeing, maybe people glorifying their lives, or even things said that you might, think that they're about you. It just depends on what type of worry you suffer from, or anxiety, or other condition. Okie dokie. So reestablish your control over online addictions or technology. So be mindful in a mindfulness sense, and a bit different. Non-judgmental, which is awareness of current thoughts and feelings. And it's also talking about being in the present moment right now. And it also talks about in that same step, it talks about CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. They all do play hand in hand, mindfulness, meditation, and CBT. Very, very good tools. Very good tools. So I'll give you guys some exercises very soon. Okie dokie. So number 4, accept the worry and move on. And like I said, worrying is a dangerous cycle, because it's worrying about worrying in the end. Number 5, write your worries down. So empty the fears out of your mind, and then you can be logical. It's hard to problem solve a tadpole because, tadpoles, they do this thing where they get startled and they just zip from side to side. And that is exactly what happens in your mind when your thoughts are all running around. You're worrying about it because you don't have any kind of stability at that point in time. Writing things down gives you a visual look at what you're actually facing. It's kind of like being afraid of something that jumps in the night that may possibly not even be there. Well, that's a worry too, isn't it? Okie dokie. So number 6, cut yourself some slack. Sometimes we have the perceived view that we need to follow all the rules of society and health. So somebody else might have done something and we feel as though if we don't do it that exact same way, maybe we'll be perceived as slack, or a bad person, or maybe that person won't like us, whichever. Individualize your problems and your healing strategies to help ease putting more pressure on yourself, and live in the now, in the present moment. And we don't always have to keep up with the Joneses, It's not always about another person and what they think of you. Sometimes it's just about what you think of yourself, and the people who matter think of you, and vice versa. Okay, 7, keep your hands busy. So this goes into being busy, actually the moving of everything actually distracts you, and studies have shown that it prevents flashbacks, which is fantastic for people who suffer from PTSD and anxiety. So keeping your hands and mind busy interferes with the storing and encoding of visual images. So obviously it puts a barrier between everything rushing in, because obviously PTSD gives people all different types of symptoms, but when people are experiencing flashbacks, it can cause insomnia, it can cause nausea, it can cause any form of irritation, or even lax in judgment, so you might get into risky situations or addiction. So yeah, just definitely look into that. Keeping yourself busy, doing something that you really enjoy. Sometimes we're feeling overwhelmed and we're worrying about all of these things, but we realize we're not actually taking any me time, any substance time to do things that we really enjoy. I had a conversation about that today, and I thought, what am I doing for me? Sometimes I sit at the beach and I just watch the waves roll in and I have a sing. So think of something that you really enjoy and get busy doing it. That would be great. I would love to hear some feedback on what you've been doing. Okay, 8, make time for meditation. We all know that meditation regulates emotions, promotes functioning, thinking and worrying all come from the same area in the brain. So there are studies that prove that it actually does really help with that. So meditation is, as you guys know, any form of breathing exercise or grounding exercise, and you can be in public, you can be at home. So if you're having one about worrying, you could do one that says, you know, little slogans in your mind, or you could just do a breathing exercise that has a visualization in your mind where you do something that, you know, really helps you to find some peace in that moment. Another one you could do is if you sit at the cinema and you watch the situation that might be worrying you, you watch it play out on the cinema screen, and then as you're breathing, you're doing your 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, you're breathing really kind of nice and peacefully. You are at the front of the screen when you come in, right? And as you keep watching it play out, you take a few rows back. You play this out in your mind until you get to the back of the cinema screen. By this point, you've picked up, if you did anything wrong, you've picked up where they went wrong, you've felt the emotions really strongly, and then you felt them ease a little bit. And then you go into the back where the projector is. You go in there. And when you look out at this problem playing out on the big cinema screen, it's not as big now, it's quite small. And you can start to put things into perspective. So that's a really good meditation exercise for someone who suffers from anxiety or worry about maybe a situation they've been involved in, or a potential situation that could happen. Okay, number 9. Get your heart pumping. So exercise, oh my goodness, promotes serotonin and reduces the effects of oxidative stress. I'm not quite sure what specifically oxidative stress is, but I do know it reduces it. So that's fantastic. So several studies have found the effects of aerobic exercise to be initially similar to that of medication, which is great. And some studies have also looked at it being a very good replacement for medication in the long term, depending on your condition, anxiety and depression, for instance, not major depressive disorder, sorry. That's the first look at worry. Now next is, what can you do when you're faced with something that you can't actually control? The object of what you're worrying about is actually not about you or something that you can do. Right, here's a list of tips. Okay, so first, determine what you can control. Second, identify your fears. Are you catastrophizing this situation because it's based on your own insecurities, or is that what's really going on? Third, concentrate on your influence. So can you influence it in any way? If it's something to do with your child, if it's something to do with your friend, can you provide extra support, or give them a shoulder to cry on, or you know, let them stay in your home for a day or something if they are homeless? What can you do? You know what I'm saying? Fourth, differentiate between ruminating and problem solving. So overthinking and worrying is different to problem solving and reflecting. So the difference is, like I said, 10 minutes is a really good amount of time to reflect on something. If you're going through problem solving strategies, well, that's a bit different. But yeah, we can definitely find ourselves overthinking and then just falling into this little negative twirl of crap, really. Okay, fifth, create a stress management plan. So that talks about you know, caring for yourself, going for walks, any form of self-care, talking to your sponsor or a critical friend or someone who can assist you in that mood that you're in at that point in time, and give you some facts, you know. Sixth, develop healthy affirmations. So when we look at like negative things pop into our brain, how can we counteract that? How can we fight that without actually fighting it, by being accepting? Well, we can give it some facts of our own, you know. We can say things like, I can handle this, or I'm stronger than I'm giving myself credit for. Because in the end, what we're worrying about, most of the time we could probably handle it. Probably we would handle it without even thinking about it. But because we're overthinking it, it doesn't really work out that way. Okie dokie. Now here's some CBT stuff for you guys. So if you guys want to do an exercise with the controlling one, you could put a circle on a big piece of paper, and in the very middle, put a smaller circle. And that smaller circle has everything you can control in it. And the outer circle has everything that is not in your control. And then you can decipher how you can problem solve to sort through the most prominent issue. So the biggest problem in your life, which should be in your control. If it's not, well then you've got to kind of work out what you can do to not have so much impact on yourself. Okay, so a CBT thought record. So this is something that you can write down in your diary every day, or in a notebook or something like that, or even just when you're stressed. But write it down so that you can check if you're making any progress or you know what's kind of going on. So first one is, where were you? So where were you when this situation or this thought happened? And what emotional feeling came up? That's the second one. The third one is negative thoughts. What was the automatic negative thought that came up? So was it, you know, I'm a failure, or whatever? What was it? Now fourth is the evidence that supports this thought. What's the evidence? You know, is there any? Fifth, the evidence that does not support this thought. And sixth, what's an alternative thought that you could think about, you know, if that situation maybe happened again, or what would you tell your friend, or something like that. 7, how do you feel now? What's your emotional feeling or thought right now after you've done this exercise? So that's a good one to do. And this last one is about challenging your anxious thoughts with CBT. So first is, am I falling into a thinking trap? Now, most people will know when they feel a bit uncomfortable or when they're starting to overthink things. They will know. So you've got to kind of get that strength to stop yourself and say, is this a thinking trap? Am I in this? I'm in this, aren't I? Just be accountable for your thinking trap. Okay, 2, what is the evidence for this thought? 3, have I confused a thought with a fact? 4, what would I tell a friend if they had this thought? 5, what would a friend say to me in regards to this thought or feeling? 6, am I 100% sure this will actually happen? 7, how many times has this situation happened before? So look for patterns. 8, is this situation, thought or feeling so important that my future depends on it? 9, what is the worst that could happen? Really, what's the worst that can happen? 10, if it did happen, what can I do to cope? What can I do to deal with it? 11, is my judgment based on the way I feel instead of facts? And 12, am I confusing possibility with certainty? How likely is this situation or thing or feeling to be true or actually happen? All right, guys. Well, that's it for me today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to try and do some goal disengagement stuff once I research it a bit more, and I will do a video on that once I have a bit more information, and I will see you guys next week. Yeah. Okay. Have a great week. Bye, guys.